And welcome back to the Hot Lap. As you can see here, we are asking, has Verstappen just screwed over Christian Horner? Well, not just, but in relation to his contract negotiations, something has allegedly been added, and that is if Marko leaves, Verstappen can go. This is despite Verstappen having a contract until 2028, and it's not believed that the original contract had that clause in. It's believed to be an addendum, let's say. So let's get into this story with motorsport.com. And they're saying, did the secret contract move open door for Verstappen Red Bull F1 exit? And there's been some suggestion that Christian Horner doesn't even know about this. And even if he does, I mean, it's certainly something that Verstappen and Marko could potentially be quite happy about, I imagine. So a few months ago, as we know, the prospect of Max leaving Red Bull, the most dominant team of this current set of regulations, let's say, seemed impossible. But with a long-term contract, the article says, in theory, that committed him to Red Bull, as we said, until 2028. And with that dominant car underneath him, at least this year and next year, pretty much no reason for him to leave, is there? Despite the rumours about him going to Mercedes. But amid this power battle that's erupted for Red Bull, there'll be a book about that sometime, surely, for control of the F1 team. Amid this fallout all over the Christian Horner investigation, or the instigated, if you want to believe, some investigation to oust Christian Horner. Who knows, because of this lack of transparency. But the fears of Verstappen's father Jos that Red Bull risks being torn apart, as he said in the media, if Horner remains in place. And this triggered suggestions of there being doubts about the triple, seemed to be quadruple, I imagine, but the triple World Champion staying for the long term if there was no change at the top. Now, things moved in a fresh direction at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix when the driver himself, aka Max Verstappen, he warned that he would likely walk if Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko was let go by the squad amid an ongoing investigation into media leaks. There was little doubt, based on repeated comments he made over that weekend, that his future with Red Bull would only be assured, if you read between the lines, if Marko stayed. He said, "I think I have been very clear that he always has to stay." And that's Verstappen when talking about Marko. He said, everyone has his own role, which is the way it's always been. And he went on to saying, and of course, after Dietrich's death, some of those tasks were split up. I've always indicated that Helmut has to stay for the future as long as he's alive. Yeah, well, or retires maybe, I don't know. But he went on to say, I've always been very clear about that. Like last year after Qatar, and I hope that doesn't change. He said, but while his feelings were clear, contracts in Formula One, as we know, are normally fairly robust things, but they're worth the paper they're printed on sometimes. And it's not up to drivers to decide that they suddenly want to jump ship. They can't really do that on a whim. However, the only way contracts can be gotten out of is specific exit clauses. Think of Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari with his 1-on-1 deal, had a solid deal for 2024, but he had that exit clause. Both of them did, actually, both him and Mercedes, to go to Ferrari. And there is one of those clear reasons of an exit clause that can be triggered. Now, sometimes the clause can be activated, though, on performance grounds. So a driver is dropped if he does not hit a specific target. Or they can walk if the team's car does not come up to scratch and deliver certain results. Now, brake clauses can also be included, as we know, with that Lewis Hamilton example. Occasionally, though, brake clauses can be related to more specific details, and this can include giving drivers a way out if there are changes of senior personnel. Motorsport.com is aware of other driver contracts that have included such specifics, it's saying. So in Verstappen's case, it's emerged in recent weeks that the Dutchman, and they're saying here, does indeed have such a clause in this deal that would allow him to walk if Marko is dropped. That would explain why he's been so clear with his comments that if the Austrian veteran is no longer in the picture at Red Bull, then his own future would likely be elsewhere. But what is perhaps the most intriguing about this, it says, the Marko exit clause, is that, according to sources, it was not part of that original deal that Verstappen signed all that way back in 2022. Instead, it's understood that this clause forms part of an addendum, an adding, an edit, if you will, to the contract that was added more recently. Yes, the plot thickens. And even more intriguingly, it had been revealed by insiders that this addition to this original contract was put in place unilaterally by the Verstappens and Marko without Red Bull's F1 team or even Christian Horner knowing about it at the time. Now, Marko is able to do this because he is one of the 2 directors of Red Bull Racing, so he can act on the team's behalf, it's saying. The existence of the clause only appears to have become common knowledge, though, in recent weeks when Verstappen's future became a topic of public debate, and the presence of the clause was mentioned openly. Red Bull has, surprise, surprise, declined to comment on the situation, as is their right, and as is their right, but so no comment from Red Bull. Computer says no, surrounding how or when this clause ended up in the contract. But its presence would suggest that it was a way of Marko protecting his position and Verstappen ensuring he had security about the senior management. And it also means that Verstappen has a crystal clear way out of Red Bull if needed, which proves his talk of being devoted to Marko is very much real. And as he said recently about the management structure within the team being more important than driving the fastest F1 car, Verstappen said, you know what it is. At the end of the day, it's about relationships within the team and communication. He carried on by saying, if things that are very important to you disappear in the team, then it would be an unworkable situation if that were to happen. I've always been very open on that, and they all know about it. It's no wonder that rival teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin are keeping a watching brief over the latest Red Bull developments, because they know there could be a golden chance to land its star driver for next year. Yes, is it the vultures circling Red Bull? I don't think it's that bad. Could Verstappen leave? I don't think he will. Could Horner leave? I don't think he will, at least not at the end of the season. But I keep saying I don't think. Something most certainly has to give, doesn't it? Yeah. What is that going to be? I don't know. Now, when I say give, peace being made, someone leaving. As we know, the FIA have received now, we all know more than one alleged official complaint on Horner, although they're not commenting on it. Someone doesn't. I mean, this is potentially a power play. This is the frustrating thing. We don't know. Someone really look at the evidence, clearly does not like Christian Horner, and they want him out of the team. The problem is, I feel that however you feel about Christian Horner, the man, let's say, and you've got Christian Horner, the team boss, for Red Bull, he's an amazing team boss. He's been there since 2005. He is Red Bull, maybe even more so than Max Verstappen. But what's going to happen? And then you've got these WhatsApps. Yes, they're not the worst in the world, but they don't read very well. And in many situations, in work, I think, if that was a boss to somebody else, there is a potential of them getting fired. But obviously, this is not a normal situation. We don't know whether those WhatsApps are real. It would appear that this contract thing is real. With the WhatsApp, Red Bull have declined to comment, so they're neither admitting or stating that they're admitting they're real or stating that they're fake. So it's going to be interesting. So watch this space. We'll let you know. I'm sure we'll end up doing more. I'm sure we'll still do another video about Red Bull. I'd rather once again do it about the racing, but I thought this was too interesting to ignore. We've also done our Saudi. No, that's been and done, isn't it? We've done our Australian Grand Prix preview as well for you all to see, and we'll speak to you soon. Oh, like and subscribe. That'd be lovely. Thank you.